Engage.
How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome back to the Geekritique show. My name is Dakota.
I'm Jen.
Jen, your voice isn't all that great this week, huh?
No, it's not. I'm very annoyed.
She's sick again.
My body's inconveniencing me once more.
Yeah, so that's partially why we're doing this so late this week. Sorry, guys. We promised to get these out on Mondays, and we've been pretty good about getting them out, at least Monday night. This week we were recording this very late. This is Wednesday.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
Yes. Let's talk about The Name of the Wind, chapters 65 to 76. Yes. 65 to 76, yeah.
A lot has happened.
Oh man, so much happened. I think this is the part of the book that each chapter is like completely different, because now he's juggling life at school, he's juggling life with Denna, he's juggling chasing down the Chandran.
All the debts he has to pay.
All the debts he has to pay, people he has to ward or fight off, literally.
He has an awful lot going on.
So much. Poor guy.
And is also an aspiring musician.
You guys shared some thoughts with us. We're going to be covering those very shortly. Guys, if you are new here and this is the first Geekritique Book Club video you're watching, I recommend going to the link in the description where the introduction to the book club, where we're discussing The Name of the Wind,
You just
particularly.
took my page. I was holding a page.
Sorry, Jen.
God. God.
If you guys want to join the Geekritique Book Club, go to this email and email us book club, and basically we'll put you on a newsletter that we send out every week to those who are in the book club. That's like over 20 people now, which is awesome. And you guys can share your thoughts with us as far as like where we are in the book, and we'll keep you up to date with future books that we're going to be doing. And you can go into the link below. We have a link so that you can get 2 free books on Audible if you start a 30-day free trial, and you know that helps the channel a little bit, so that's awesome. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. One of the really interesting things that someone sent to us.
Goitz009 says,
009.
"Hey, I looked it up, and apparently Pat confirmed that a talent is about $1,000 US, taking into account the time period differences, and he sent us a link to a currency exchanger. So thank you."
Yeah, thanks so much, because I was completely off. I thought that a talent was about $100.
Yeah, but it
I
makes
was
sense.
way off.
It makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. It
Now that
makes
you
a lot
think
more
about it,
sense
like
this way.
what tuition for school costs and all that. Kieldish currency, 1 shim is about 91 cents. 1 iron drab is about $10. 1 copper jot is about $100, which makes sense. A silver talent, 1,000, and a gold mark is 10,000.
There you have it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, even when he asks Debbie then for 20 silver talents, he's literally asking for the amount for a down payment on a house.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy to think about. Knowing that going into these chapters was so helpful for us, so we really appreciate you sending that to us.
Yes, thank you so much. Spencer, you shared your thoughts with us, and you said, "So now I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to figure out where the story's going. There isn't much book left, and I genuinely have no idea what the endgame is. Granted, this is the first in the trilogy, so that's probably part of it. Is it something to do with the dragon that just spontaneously appeared? It breathes blue fire, so was it the cause of the massacre at the wedding and not the Chandrian? However, Kvothe said they're relatively harmless, so slaughtering a wedding party makes little sense in that context." I think at this point, most people who read Name of the Wind are like, where is this going? Because it took a sharp turn into Traven, a place in the middle of nowhere, so that Kvothe could research the Chandrian, which was his original goal in going to the university.
But I think that is actually something that a lot of people don't like about this series as a whole, is it's very windy and very, not to say non-linear, but you really don't know what's going to happen. Stuff like this, like curveballs, just kind of get thrown at you that kind of take the plot in a different direction than you were maybe expecting.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't always follow the hero's journey trope. necessarily.
Yeah, which is
because-
something we have a friend that read it and he didn't like that. But I personally enjoy that about this series because I think it's a little more realistic and true to life. And I think it's cool because no matter what's going on in his life, we know he does have an end goal and he will drop everything to go and hunt for it.
You mentioned, are the Chandrians still the end game, and is this part of their plan? The rusty well pump and the mysterious heirloom that brought doom upon the wedding would lead you to think that.
What's their plan? What's their plan?
Chandrian. I won't say like what the end game of the book is because I want you guys to read it and enjoy it if this is your first time going through it. But I will say, ultimately, the series will have to confront the Chandrian face to face again. Just like in his childhood, when they said someone's parents had been singing entirely the wrong sorts of songs, which they reused when Kvothe is at the farm.
I absolutely loved how you called this the Blue Wedding.
Yes. Did they ever mention that it was a blue wedding, or it was just like there was?
Yeah,
fire
I think
at the
it was
wedding?
just. Yeah, I think it was just like a jokingly
Clever.
blue wedding.
Maybe Rothfuss actually meant it that way. Who knows? You actually sent us a few pictures of what you kind of picture when you see or when you think of the Chandrian, and you say it's kind of like what Ben Whishaw as Ariel in the movie version of Tempest looked like a few years back. So
Yeah, we were looking at that, and yeah, I see what you're saying.
In a way, yeah.
Because even like his wings could kind of look like the Cloak of Shadows a little, and like the negative coloring.
Yeah, the negative like color scheme in like the deep blue, I can totally see that when it comes to the Chandrian.
And even underneath him kind of looks like blue flames a bit.
Yeah, I can picture more like hooded figures. Obviously, they haven't been described as having wings or talons, but as far as like the facial expression goes and like the menace that the characters hold, I think you're pretty spot on with that. Maybe.
Yeah, it's super spooky.
Yeah, very spook. Our random patron of the video is Murphy Giller. You can check out his new vlog channel, Broken Chain Studios, in the link below. Please check him out, guys. He's awesome.
One thing I wanted to talk about with this, with these chapters is we get so much more dialogue between Denna and Kvothe because they go on yet again another adventure together. And Denna kind of shows us a lot more of who she really is. She admits to remembering Kvothe from the first time that they met. The part that I think is very interesting is she says, you know, when they first met, Kvothe says, "I was wondering why you're here." And she goes, "From that moment I was yours." And she mentions a couple of times that he always talks to her in sentences of 7 words. And it brings to mind the question that Elodin asks Kvothe when he's first going through his questions to get into the university. When he says, "Do you know there are 7 words to make a woman fall in love with you?" And then he goes, "There are.
Yeah.
They're real."
They're out
He
there.
says, "They're out there." That's what he says. They're out there. And he seems crazy, but also, too, Denna mentioned something like, don't you learn about the names of things at the university? And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, how much she knows about these things. Because it's like, why does she seem to know some information that Master Elodin, Master Namer, knows?
Right.
And it just is bizarre to me.
It's curious.
It's just very curious. She seems to know a lot more than she lets on. So that's what I have to say.
Graph, again, you've given us so much. You've given us it looks like your entire notes from these chapters. So
But we actually love it because
keep doing it.
it's great for us as like a refresher because we just read yours, and right before we read it, I was like, man, I feel like I need to like go through, you know, what we read, and I was like looking at the chapters that we read because I'm like, where did it start? Where does it end? I get a little like mixed about. So you like perfectly map it out and give us your commentary, and we love it. So thank you.
Keep it up.
So we're going to go through and pick out the parts to talk about.
Yes. Wow, a lot happened in these chapters, and that's, again, everyone is thinking that.
Because it's like, whoop.
Denna is a wild creature, and Kvothe is a young and experienced boy, but no one can tell him that, though.
Yeah, because the more you did, the more he'd fight.
You were impressed by the fact that he wasn't overly complimentary of her, that he kind of showed restraint, and that he is maturing a little bit.
Yeah.
Or he's showing maturity, rather.
And for someone like Denna, I feel like even when they're together in Traben, it's almost like he friend zones himself But for someone like Denna, that must be so refreshing. You know, even when they're on the waystone and she's like, oh, I'm cold. You know, most guys would be like, oh, let's warm each other up, or some stupid line.
Yeah.
And for her, you know, he hands her his cloak. And he's always it is kind of like when you see like a wild deer outside and you want it to come to you. So you just kind of hold out an apple to it and you don't move and you don't make any steps towards it.
Have you tried that?
No, I haven't. When I met Dakota, he was not overly complimentary at all. Just very, like, just treated me like a human being. And
That's what they want.
That was actually, like, that and his sense of humor were kind of, like, what led me to him. You know, the fact that he wasn't trying so hard. So I can relate to Denna in the sense that it's kind of like he's friend-zoning himself, but you can tell how much he cares for her without him being ridiculous about it.
She knows.
You know, yeah, she has to know.
He goes to work at the fishery. This is an interesting scene on how he prepares the stage. He shows us that fella is there, then what Kvothe was going to make, gathering his tools and the process of his work. Then the accident occurs. You know the setting because of the masterful way he set it up. You can picture everything, though you still don't know everything. More to come through the narrative. And yeah, you're right, I didn't think about this when we were actually going through it. But by the time the actual accident occurs, he doesn't have to explain where everything is in the room because you already kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. You already know what's going to happen because of the way he set it up. So yeah. I like that. Thanks for pointing that out. I like the part where you mentioned that he breaks the glass with the binding and 500 gallons of water ran between the tables. The fact that Kvothe is so quick on his feet and so quick to think about how to fix scenarios, because really he did all that he could in that moment and he knew exactly how to do it immediately. I love that about him. He's a hero. He's a hero, and
yeah, just down to his basic instincts.
Yeah.
You know.
And then saving Fella from the flames.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I absolutely loved the scene where Fella meets him at the Aeolian, and she's upset because she feels like a damsel in distress, and she doesn't understand how she could have been that way. And he says, like, these aren't a fair maiden's hands, or whatever he says.
Yeah, which actually, like, hurts her feelings. At first, like, she's like, what?
My hands? But I loved that so much because it's like, just because you're not as quick on your feet as someone else might be, that doesn't mean that you're not strong.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent or
capable.
Yeah, capable. And he even said you would have gotten out there. I know you would have. You probably just might have been a little bit more banged up if someone didn't carry you out. I've been in situations where I'm really not quick on my feet. I'm like the opposite of both. I am very deer in the headlights when something happens. And that really spoke to me because I always kind of felt like, why can't I think faster? That doesn't mean I'm a weakling.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean you're weak, Jen.
Look at these hands.
When Kvothe goes back to the fishery to see the damage, Master Kilvin was with another arguing. Master Kilvin really gets him with the burnt cloak and the lamp. He sees that Master Kilvin was in a good mood. And why? He says to expect disaster every 7 years. This was 2 years overdue. Now this is
What a coincidence. The number 7. Yet again.
Interestingly, Kvothe is trying to translate the Sealdish that Master Kilvin is speaking, and he doesn't know the word for coat. And that is the word for disaster. Interestingly, that's what he calls himself at the inn in the beginning of the book. Everyone knows him as Coat. So he calls himself Disaster. I think that's pretty telling. We don't know what that means.
Yeah, we don't. What I was thinking also is that because his reflexes are so fast, that maybe he unwittingly causes disaster, or makes a mild disaster a lot worse by just acting without thinking, because that is one of his faults. So I wonder if, that's going to be... Because I think it's interesting the timing of him picking that nickname too. Not nickname, but like that future alias for himself.
You mentioned here he goes back to the university to mains with his loot. Then he starts to worry about Ari and her being in the tunnels when the fire and reagent went down there. Again, showing maturity, not just thinking of himself, but thinking of others. He goes to get Mola from the Medica. I love it when she saw his flute. She was worried she was going to get serenaded. He explains the situation and gets her to go to Main's courtyard via the roof to see if Ari's okay. From the gate within the courtyard, you could smell the reagent. My heart started to worry for Ari even more.
Yeah.
And Ari was okay, and even allowed Mola to get near her. It was a cute interaction. Then the music, that which suits. And that's such a great scene. The care that Kvothe has, the love that Kvothe has for Ari, a creature who lives under a university, in basically the sewers of the university.
Yeah.
He knows that if he goes to the Masters, they'll just lock her up or get her out of there, you know?
Mm-hmm. And he outright says that to Mola, because it's funny. I feel like people will kind of lie to themselves and be like, no, it's better this way. Like, let's put it in someone else's hands.
Right.
And they kind of feel like their conscience is clean. And he's like, no, I know what they would do to her, and I'm not letting that happen. I loved that. I also wanted to talk about when you said what you think is one of the best lines in the whole series. When Diak said to Kvothe, she will break your heart. And Kvothe answers, Diak, my heart is made of stronger stuff than glass. When she strikes, she'll find it's strong as iron-bound brass, or gold and adamant together mixed. Don't think I am unaware, some startled deer to stand transfixed by hunter's horns. It's she who should take care, for when she strikes, my heart will make a sound so beautiful and bright that it can't help but bring her back to me in winged flight. And I also loved the ending of that chapter, how foolish, how wise, because it kind of makes you think, like, what does that mean is going to happen? How foolish, how wise. It's like, how can a thing be foolish and wise at the same time? It does make me wonder, because it's said so eloquently and so beautifully, that I wonder if this is Kvothe or Kote kind of making what he said to Diak more poetic in the version that he's telling Chronicler.
Probably.
Because it's just so beautifully written that the thought of him just coming up with that of his own accord is incredible. It's funny because it's saying, it kind of reminds me of that song Fools Rush In, because it's saying, like, yes, it's really foolish to just dive into love, but it's also what will keep you alive, what will keep you going, and I don't know, like, how you won't give up. I think I loved that. I love that scene too. On another note, over on page 498, I really liked the whole interaction with the man selling the horse to Kvothe. How blunt Kvothe was, and like, I don't have time for this, and just kind of, he knew horses really well. And it's classic Kvothe, he looks at all the details and then could be easily fooled by a simple trick that a lot of other people wouldn't fall for. So when he names the horse Kethsalen, and then the tinker tells him later that means one sock. Because you're reading that, and I actually forgot this part from the first time that I read the book. So when the merchant quickly changes and drops his price drastically, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if he saw the bond between Kethsalen and Kvothe. We know Sealdish men are really burly at first, but then they have a soft spot. And I said that whole thing to Dakota, and then when we reach the part where he gets to the tinker, and the tinker's like, it's named One Sock, didn't that tell you? I thought that was really well written. Yeah. And really hilarious.
But what's cool about that is that Kvothe is showing that he is able to name things, like a namer.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, was he unwittingly naming this horse by its true name?
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
My desire for the book, as of right now, like by chapter 76, is I just want Kvothe to tell someone about his story. I want Kvothe to tell someone what happened to his parents, so he's not alone on this hunt for the Chandrian. Because even Denna, like, she currently believes that the Chandrian exist. She's going along with the story, but she doesn't understand why Kvothe is so interested in it.
Yeah.
I want someone to be by his side in that journey.
And I almost feel like his caution is not always a good thing. I feel like it kind of takes the story in ways that maybe could have been different if he was honest from the start. Because even, just, it's almost like, I don't know how to put this without giving too much away, but I find it really interesting. Like, they make it pretty clear in this chapter that Denna's patron is a bit abusive with her, because like he even said, like, she had bruises along the side of her face, and she said she ran into a tree, and he's like, that must have been an oddly shaped tree. Yeah. And he just seems like weird, and off in the way that he goes about
Master Ash.
Master Ash. Who is this guy? I think that's interesting that it was the fact that he failed to meet with her that she ended up meeting her patron in the first place. And I wonder if this is a bad thing, like his failure to be honest with her will lead to more, I don't know what's going to happen, but will lead to more badness to come. It's almost as if right now these are crucial times and you just want him to open up to someone. And it sucks that he won't, because he doesn't want to because of, you know, what Master Lauren said to him. He doesn't want to be viewed as childish.
Well, guys, thank you so much for leaving your comments this week. There's so much to talk about, and honestly, like, we could go on for hours with this, but that just means, think about it this way. For every 30 minutes is about like 2.5 hours worth of editing for me. So if we went on any longer, this won't get out to you guys until like Saturday.
Meh.
So,
and I don't think my voice will hold out for that much longer anyway.
No, but this week is our last week of The Name of the Wind. Hopefully we get it out to you guys sooner rather than later, but we want you guys to share any thoughts you have so far, anything at all. It could be from chapter 1, it could be from the epilogue at the end. We are really excited to hear any and all thoughts that you guys have. If you guys have like a little mini review that you want to share with us in any way, we would love to incorporate that into our show. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good one.